this wonderful world of art, and especially a warm welcome into the world of acrylics. I am C.S. Pant and I paint for a living, and I paint abstracts, landscapes and portraits. Today I am here with you to explain you how to use acrylics for painting landscapes. As all of you are very well aware, there are a variety of mediums available in the market like oil paints, watercolors, pastels, pencils, charcoal and so on and so forth. And a delighting medium one amongst all these is acrylics. Let us see what are acrylics. Acrylics is a relatively very young medium because oil, watercolor, pastels, charcoal are known to man for a very long time. But acrylics is a very wonderful medium to be introduced as late as 1960 and was found to be a byproduct in the plastics industry. It's a pigment. Acrylics are pigments which are water soluble and they are bound with a binder which is a synthetic resin, and then it is filled up into tubes or is available in bottles. Acrylics, when wet, can be easily dissolved in water and they form a thin film if more water is added, and they form a thick paste if less water is added. Once acrylics dry, they become tough and impermeable skin and do not redissolve in any solvent. It means even if you add acid on that, there will be no reaction to acrylics because acrylics are very tough when they dry. They have no odor, unlike the oils and turpentine where you find very obnoxious odor, and they can be combined with practically anything that you see. You can combine acrylics with sand, sawdust, even thin metal films. And acrylics have very beautiful adhesive properties. So as you can see, acrylics are really very versatile and they can be used on any surface. You can paint your pictures on any surface, like paper, you can paint on canvas, you can paint on fabric, you can paint on wood, and practically all surfaces with equal efficacy except glass, metals, very shining and smooth tiles, because extremely shining surfaces will repel acrylics even after they dry, and acrylics will not be held on to these surfaces. So be careful on choosing your surface and generally attempt to paint on paper or canvas or fabric. Acrylic paints can be thinned down to different consistencies. Generally we find 5 different consistencies for preparation to paint. First is impasto. The word impasto in Italian means thick. Acrylics can be combined with a gel to give you the impasto effect. It means you can literally feel the paint over the surface and maybe even lift the paint with the with your hand. The second consistency is direct. That is, when I take acrylic paint, which is a tube like this, and I apply acrylics directly, I get a particular feel, and when this is allowed to dry, acrylics will dry and harden here itself without any change of form or shape. The third consistency which you can obtain with acrylics is melted ice cream consistency. On your palette, if I now take out some amount of color and I just add enough water with a brush to make it look like melted ice cream, I can use this consistency of acrylics for my paintings. This is melted ice cream consistency. Now, if I make use of more water in my acrylic paint, let us see what happens. If I take more water, I can get a soupy consistency. This is what I would call as a soupy consistency. You go on adding water and you get different consistencies of the paint. Now this impasto is with a gel, which generally we do not use for our regular painting. This is employed only for certain specific works. But we can readily use direct paint, we can use melted ice cream, we can use soupy consistency, or we may also use what is called as watery. Now I make use of lot of water. When I use plenty of water along with the acrylics, I can give a very transparent effect, even thinning down further, and see how variation in tone is achieved with the help of addition of water. The product remains beautifully transparent. So I get a watery consistency with the help of acrylics. Now this versatility of acrylics is hardly present in any other medium, and that is why we call acrylics as a very versatile medium. We can paint with acrylics using this thick consistency, melted ice cream, soupy, or a very watery consistency, and literally obtain results which are similar to watercolors. You can literally paint watercolors with acrylics, or you can make the effect of oil paint appear on your canvas. And that is why this is one medium which is very exciting, and I would like to share with you how I use acrylics to paint landscapes. Now before we jump on to landscapes, after understanding what acrylics is all about, I would like to share with you some do's and don'ts about acrylics. I call these as the 10 commandments. These are the 10 commandments of acrylics. Let us now go on listing them here itself. Number 1. The 10 commandments. The first is, we must remember that acrylics are fabric colors. Fabric colors means they have a very strong affinity for fabrics, and they are likely to ruin your clothes if they touch your clothes. So you have to be very careful about them. So you always wear old clothes when you do your work with acrylics. Secondly, keep in mind that acrylics should be kept away from walls, curtains, and bed sheets. because once stained, you'll not be able to get back your wall or your bed sheets or curtains. Number 3, after working, the brushes must be thoroughly cleaned with cold water and a little soap. While working, keep your brushes head down in water. Because while painting, if you remove your brushes and keep them on your table, they will harden and you will lose a very expensive brush. Your tubes or bottles must be closed tightly. Not very tight, but secure. So that the acrylic paint doesn't dry within the tube. Squeeze out more than required quantity. Because you should not fall short of the color, and you can make use of a spray bottle and keep spraying a little bit of water over it to keep the acrylic paints moist. Always stock your paintings or stack your paintings vertical. If painted on paper and you stack them as a pile, one on top of the other, because of the adhesive properties of acrylics, there could be a lot of pressure on the underlying paintings which will stick to one another. Never paint over old oil paintings. It happens, old unused oil paintings are a great temptation to use for acrylic paints, and exactly that could lead to disaster, because acrylics will not adhere to anything which is oily or oil based, and therefore will be repelled. Number 9, never paint on glass or tiles or anything which is extremely smooth and soft. Lastly, keep acrylics away from children. Although they are non-toxic, they could be hazardous from point of view of material. Children can misuse acrylics, spoil their own clothes, your clothes, and something else in the household or in your studio. So these are the 10 commandments of acrylics. If when followed, will give you only the delight of painting, cutting out all the possible risks with acrylics.